Yes, the secret to happiness.
Yes.
So,
I hear it.
who has found the secret to happiness? One person. No, two, three. Okay, a few of you. Okay, then you're in need of listening to this. So, for the older people here, like myself, we joined this movement many years ago, seeking meaning in life. And I would say, since joining this movement, I've learned what the secret of happiness is. It doesn't mean to say I'm always happy, but at least I know how I'm supposed to live, what my purpose is. So not many of you put your hand up. Of course, how many? Well, to know the secret of happiness is like to have understanding, but then are you happy?
Here and there.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Well, this is a good topic then. Yes. So if I told you the secret, would it make a difference? Or maybe you secretly do have the secret to happiness, but you don't want to say because you're shy. We're Swedish people are rather shy. As for those who are visitors here, you may have noticed already that Swedes don't express themselves so fully. But that's not so bad, is it? Because maybe happiness sometimes is found in a quiet place in the heart. So we use the word happiness, but what about the word joy? Is joy a deeper word? No. Well, I'm going to tell you that actually the origin of these two words. So happiness, the guy on the left is very happy. The lady on the left is also happy, but she's finds some joy as well. Maybe he's also joyful, but happiness is based on our circumstances. The root word is hap, which means luck or chance, because something happens to you. So that's the root of the word happiness. Your external circumstances, like you win lots of money, yes, you have a great day, somebody compliments you, you pass a test, your team wins the game. So things happen to you, and you're happy. But the word joy is based on our internal state. The root word is simcha, which means rejoice, something I choose to do. You choose to do it. You can create joy, but it depends on your internal state, because maybe the world is in chaos, maybe your family is in chaos, maybe your work is in chaos, but within yourself you can still find happiness, joy. But the two words are quite interchangeable, and we tend to use happiness more commonly. So, where does joy come from? Well, let us read some words from our Father, our true Father. He says this: God is the origin of heart and emotion, and his purpose is to create joy. But one cannot feel joy alone. The greatest joy comes from the exchange of love between subject and object partners. That's it. You can't create joy by yourself. Well, actually, if you say you feel joy within yourself, but then you could say, well, it's you finding relationship to God, because we're God's children. And a subject and object partnered, like, in a family you have husbands and wives, you have children and parents, you have colleagues. So joy, happiness, comes from relationships. And what does the divine principle say? Joy arises when we have an object partner in which our internal nature and external form are reflected and developed. Like you find in that other person something within yourself which resonates with you. So that's why people who are attracted to each other, actually they see something of themselves in the other person. God wanted his creations to be object partners embodying goodness, that he might take delight in them. We're meant to be good. Then God is joyful, and we can feel joy. So what does it mean to be good? How can we achieve goodness? When we fulfill the three blessings, we become God's object partners of love and return perfect joy to him. The three blessings. So what are the three blessings? For those of you who may not be so sure or don't know, let me repeat. The first blessing is the perfection of individuality, meaning that our mind and our body should unite centered upon God. If our mind is guided by God and our mind and body united, we become harmonious, ideal people. We should mature. So the second blessing is the perfection of the family. A mature man and a mature woman create a family. And the third blessing, perfection of dominion, that all people, together with creation, united, showing love and using creativity, we can create an ideal world. They're the three blessings. So I'm very happy because I know the purpose of life. And some people might disagree with me, but I felt ever since I was 23 years of age and I learned the divine principle, I thought, this is what life is about. All you've got to do is practice it. Are we practicing the divine principle? Yes. So, of course, another aspect of this is that happiness, to fulfill our purpose, there's a whole purpose to bring joy to God and to bring joy to others. But also there's an individual purpose to bring joy to yourself. You need both. There cannot be a whole purpose without an individual purpose. We need both. So, who's heard of the Book of Joy? Who has read the Book of Joy? Who knows who the Dalai Lama is? Oh, right. Who knows who Desmond Tutu is? All right. Well, here they are. And a few years ago, they wrote a book together called the Book of Joy. And the man in the middle is called Douglas Abrams, and he wrote the book after interviewing both of them because they're wise, spiritual people, and he wanted to learn from them, what is joy and how can we achieve it? So, of course, it's easier said than done, isn't it? So why is it difficult to find real joy in life? Even if you have the divine principle, even if your parents teach you right and wrong, even if you've got lots of money, still we struggle. So in this book, the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, they identified certain obstacles to joy. Obstacles to joy. So for example, fear. If happiness or true joy comes from your internal state, you have a lot of fear, it's blocking, actually it's the opposite to love. You cannot feel, if you're afraid of God, how can you feel God's love? And then, of course, stress. Stress interferes with our happiness. Anybody felt stressed this week? That hand went up immediately, Liliana, yes. Some of you are sure. Who had no stress this week? Oh, a few people, very good. So you've had a happy week then? Happy? Yes, good. And then, do you ever get anxious? You worry about things. Yeah, my wife worries all the time. I keep saying, stop it. She's a bit of a drama queen sometimes because I feel she exaggerates and the world is falling apart. Do you know anybody like that? Yes. And then, of course, frustration. Do you ever get frustrated with people? Yeah. Frustrated with your job. Frustrated with something you can't get finished. Anybody here get angry? Oh, yes. So if you're angry, how can you be happy if you're angry? Yeah? Sadness. Anybody been sad this week? No, good. No one's been sad this week. Good. Grief. Well, my son died last year. So that's an emotion you have to deal with. Loneliness. People who live by themselves, maybe some people are very content. I need my space. But we're not designed to live forever by ourselves. Envy. You ever get jealous of what other people have? No, good. You're a very mature person. Yes. Illness. Who's been sick this year? Anybody been sick? It doesn't feel good. Do you feel happy when you're sick? No. So these are some obstacles. But of course, happiness or joy, it's like, if you have these obstacles, can you still find happiness?
Yeah.
Well, the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, they came up with 8 pillars of joy. If we kind of practice these certain mindsets, certain attitudes, then we can find joy. So, perspective. I think the last time I spoke, I talked about how we perceive reality, how we view things. The way we look at life affects very much how we feel inside and how happy we are. Because, if you have some difficulties, but you know that other people have worse problems, and you see the bigger picture, then actually it helps you not to just focus on problems. And humility. We're all God's children. So to receive God's love, we need to be open to receive, and we shouldn't be arrogant and too full of ourselves or think we're better than others. Humour. A laugh a day keeps the doctor away. Any of you good at telling jokes? Who likes to listen to jokes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. All right. I don't have one for you today, but I know. I mean, my wife, I said, I don't want to talk about her because she's a lovely person, but she gets a bit anxious, and sometimes my humour helps her. Sometimes I have this expression. I say, what do I say? I say, there. It's going to be all right. And she finds that quite funny. So, humour, very important. And acceptance. If you can accept your circumstances, even if they're difficult, it's a lot easier. Like, let things go. Don't dwell upon the past. Life can be hard. Actually, I mean, if you think about a plant, for a plant to grow, it has to weather a storm. It has to go through difficulties. Same with us. Children are going to suffer as they grow. It's part of growing. But if you can accept the difficulties, well, what is the lesson? What can I learn from this, from my difficulty? Yeah, accept it. Forgiveness, and forgiveness is very much about letting things go. Don't keep repeating in your mind or have some kind of bad feeling towards someone. Let it go. Forgive that person. Forgive yourself. We all make mistakes. When I was a teacher, I used to tell children, please make mistakes. Don't feel bad if you make mistakes. It's good. Then you learn. Gratitude. Gratitude is the great multiplier. Gratitude is the bridge to love. Gratitude opens yourself up to receive. It actually gives you, because when you're grateful, you're open to receive, so you can become abundant. And I think Father once said, when there's nothing to be grateful for, be grateful. Compassion. That you have empathy for others and you feel their suffering and you can feel one with them to support them. And generosity. Help others, whether it's time, whether it's money, or a listening ear. This is like giving, isn't it? Giving to others. So these pillars of joy, I suppose you could say the starting point is perspective, actually, because it's how you look at life. And one of these leads to another. So, I am going to look at compassion. Compassion. The Dalai Lama was known, he's known, for compassion. In Buddhism, compassion is a very big thing, isn't it? He once said, he told a story of this Buddhist monk who was imprisoned by the Chinese, and his big concern was that he would lose the ability to have compassion for these Chinese guards who were mistreating him. That's a very deep, heart. Who do you know in the world who's also known for having compassion? Mother Teresa, yeah, actually, Father, I would say that. Both the father and mother show lots and lots of compassion and forgiveness and love. But you're right, Liliana. When we think about Mother Teresa, what did she do? She was able to go to dying and sick people and comfort them and take them to have a care home, a hospital, to give them a decent death. To show, but these people, they could smell and they looked awful, but her heart of love for them overcame this kind of this feeling of these people who are in such a terrible state. So what is compassion? Let me define it. Compassion is a sense of concern that arises when we are confronted with another's suffering and feel motivated to see that suffering relieved. We can say God is a God of compassion because God feels our suffering. And that's why God suffers, because he feels how we feel and he doesn't want us to suffer. You could say that it starts with empathy. Empathy is where you can feel how another person feels. And that leads to this compassion, which then can lead to acts of kindness. Because it's not just a feeling. If you have compassion, you want to do something to relieve that person's suffering. So what can you do? What are those acts of kindness that can show compassion for others? We can say a simple smile. A kind nod. Yeah, you're okay, you're doing well. Yeah. Listening patiently. That's not so easy. But if you really listen to someone who has some difficulties, they'll appreciate it so much because they feel you understand me. A loving hug. Did anyone give someone a hug today?
Yes.
Did anyone receive a hug today?
Yes.
Yeah. Who tries to give hugs every day? So, who's not into giving hugs? No. But some people love hugs, and sometimes it's appropriate. A wise counsel, giving good advice to help a person. So these are what compassion is. But what are the benefits? What are the benefits of compassion? Suffering comes from always thinking about yourself. Me. That's where your suffering comes from. So if you have compassion, you're not thinking about yourself. We have this saying, live for the sake of others. That's why we're here. That's what gives us joy and happiness. Live for others. Dwell upon yourself. Me. You're not happy. When we elevate other people's suffering, we reduce our own suffering because we're not focusing on ourselves. So if I'm struggling with something, but I show compassion for another person who maybe has more difficulty, then my difficulty pales in comparison. Endorphins are released in our brain. A warm feeling comes from the hormone oxytocin. So it's a chemical reaction. Compassion makes our heart healthy and happy. It reduces inflammation in the cardiovascular system. Good for your heart. Compassion is contagious. When we see others being compassionate, we're more likely to be compassionate ourselves. It's pretty good, isn't it? So it's a good day to be compassionate. So the Dalai Lama is also considered a man of compassion. So here he is, he's comforting a survivor of the Tsunami devastated region of Sendai, Japan on November the 5th, 2011. And I would say the Dalai Lama, very much I think about compassion when I see him. So what does he say about compassion? If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. I believe compassion to be one of the few things we can practice that will bring immediate and long-term happiness to our lives. Too much self-centered thinking is the source of suffering. A compassionate concern for others' well-being is a source of happiness. So it's all connected. Okay, so at the beginning I said that there are these obstacles to happiness. If you are mistreated, unfairly treated, then maybe it's easy to feel angry or feel resentful. Have any of you been in prison? Do you know anybody who's put in prison? Do you know anybody who's put in prison unfairly, unjustly? This man was put in prison. His name is Anthony Ray Hinton. Do you know why he was put in prison? For murdering someone. But he didn't murder someone. He was innocent. But when they arrested him, the police said, we're putting you in prison because you're black. How would you feel if because of your race and your colour of your skin, the police, who's supposed to be law-abiding people, standing up for justice, said, we're going to put you in prison because you're black? How would you feel? How would you cope with that? Would you feel happy? Could you find within yourself a way to deal with that shock? So actually, for 30 years he was on death row for murder he didn't commit. 30 years he was appealing against this sentence, but he could have died. But actually, he got out of prison. He was released from prison on April the 3rd, 2015, and this is him coming out. So what happened to him during those 30 years? Did he find happiness? Did he find compassion? Actually, he wrote a book about his experience called The Sun Does Shine, and it says, How I Found Life and Freedom on Death Row. So he changed for the better. How did he manage to do that? He says this in his book, I heard a man in the cell next to mine crying. The love and compassion I had received from my mother spoke through me and asked him what was wrong. He said he had just found out that his mother had passed away. For 26 long years after that night, I tried to focus on other people's problems, and every day I did, I would get to the end of the day and realize that I had not focused on my own. So in such an extreme circumstances, when he heard this man crying because his mother had died, he felt compassion. That also came from his mother, who taught him about compassion. And in that moment, he changed. Because before that, he was very angry, he had resentment, and life was so unfair, but he changed. So even in the worst circumstances you can imagine, people can find happiness. And eventually justice was done. Okay, so the spiritual path, like the Dalai Lama is a single person. And within Christianity, we talk about being saved and that we have salvation, but it's very individual, isn't it? What's different about our movement? The difference is that we don't consider like salvation or restoration all about individuals. It's about families. And we understand that the spirit world, where Jesus went, paradise, he opened a new realm in spirit world, but that is for individuals, for Christians. But actually, what we understand is that heaven is a place for families. Heaven, because God dwells in families, because happiness, joy is a relationship. You cannot just go to the next life and be happy by yourself. How many of you here are parents? Has it been a happy life being a parent? Yeah. For those who are not parents, are you looking forward to being parents? Yeah. Do you think it will be easy? No. So, in our movement, our generation, actually, we didn't choose our spouses. Our father chose my wife. We had such faith and belief that God is working through this man. Amazing. So that brings many challenges because, first of all, I didn't choose that person. So I don't know what I'm getting. And then this person is from another country, another language, another culture, another family, another ancestry. And so there's all these differences. Yeah? We do understand that if you marry your next door neighbour, this is probably the easiest way, you know. But if you want to grow deep in your heart and find deeper happiness, actually it's good if you're very different. Because then you can overcome your limitations. So if you're a Buddhist monk like the Dalai Lama, I think he's a wonderful person, but he's never been a father. But one of his translator, who was a Buddhist for many years, actually married and had a family. And he tells a story about compassion from being an individual, practicing Buddhism and compassion, to being a father. And this man is called, if I can pronounce it right, Thupten Jinpa. That's his name. And as I said, he was the translator for the Dalai Lama for many years. And then he wrote a book called A Fearless Heart, How the Courage to be Compassionate Can Transform Our Lives. And his challenges came when he became a parent. Becoming a father helped me to make real many of the sentiments around compassion that we as monks visualize and imagine. In relationships you have with colleagues or teachers, you're not completely exposed from the personal side, whereas in the context of family life, you are as bare as you can be. My youngest daughter was completely unmanageable sometimes. I remember getting caught being very angry and frustrated. In the face of an infant's immediate need, a loving parent is completely there for that child. That unconditionality, that total presence, is a quality of mind and heart that compassion and meditation tries to cultivate for all beings. So, he continued his meditation, or we continue our prayers, and we talk to God and we study God's word, but then we have to put the theory into practice. And so, I don't see marriage as kind of, just kind of, how hard life is. It's an adventure. It's an adventure. And a lot of joy comes from being a parent and from being a husband and from being a father. But it's the next level. It's a higher level of love and of compassion. So let's return to these 8 pillars. So the first 4, they considered qualities of the mind. So, and the next 4, qualities of the heart. So the qualities of the mind: perspective, humility, humor, and acceptance. More like the way you look at things and your attitude within your mind. Whereas the qualities of the heart: forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, generosity, that's more like a feeling. So you need both. You need the understanding, but you also need the heart. So what did I say at the beginning? I said happiness, if you know your purpose in life, you can find happiness. So it's the 3 blessings. So we want to find joy, we want to find happiness, then we need to understand our purpose and we need to put it into practice. And that's why this model, the first blessing, second blessing, third blessing, is like a complete program of growth on how to develop your heart, but to be happy. And the struggles we have as individuals, within our families and in the society, rather than feeling, life is hard, if we have the right perspective, and we have a sense of humor, and we have humility, and we have learn to let go and accept the reality, we learn to, if I go back now, just remember, if we learn to forgive, to have gratitude, compassion, generosity, all these qualities help us to find joy. But actually, any one of them can be a starting point. And it's not that, I mean, each one of them is precious in themselves. So I think gratitude, I remember Father saying once, I said this already, about be grateful even when there's nothing to be grateful for. So you can start with that. Or start with humour. Humour, if you have some tension, some struggle with someone, but you can have a sense of humour, all of the air goes out, you know. So these are 8 qualities that the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu came up with from their life about how to experience joy and happiness. But I think each one of them can be a starting point. And actually, maybe it's a combination of all of them together. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for listening.
Thank you.